During World War II, on one side is a secret group that has become a nightmare for Nazi soldiers, led by a ruthless man. On the other is an SS colonel who hunts down his victims with the patience of a predator. And between them is a young woman who has spent years living with the fire of revenge burning inside her. When these three paths finally cross on the same night, in the same place, the course of history itself is changed. Without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this story. (1941), 1 year after the German army conquered France. In the French countryside, a dairy farmer named Perrier Lapadite was working on his farm with his family as usual. That's when a convoy of Nazi soldiers arrived at their farm. Seeing them approach, Lapadite calmly instructed his family not to run, but to go inside and close the doors. From one of the vehicles, an SS colonel named Hans Landa steps out. The SS was a special military organization in Nazi Germany that played a major role in carrying out the regime's brutal acts. After introducing himself in French, Landa says that he would like to sit inside and have a conversation. When Lapadite offers him some wine, Landa points out that this is a farm and asks for milk instead. He finishes the milk in one go and then asks to speak with the farmer alone. Lapadite sends his family outside, leaving just the two of them. Landa then says that his French isn't very good, but that he knows Lapadite speaks English well, so he switches the conversation to English. When Landa asks if Lapadite knows who he is, the farmer replies that he knows Landa is the man responsible for finding Jews who are hiding in France. Landa says that he has read a report stating that German soldiers searched this entire area 9 months earlier, but failed to find a single Jew. He then pulls out a file and explains that, before the German occupation, there were 4 Jewish families living in this area. But one family, the Dreyfuses, disappeared without leaving behind a single trace. Landa asks if Lapadite has heard anything about them. Lapadite says that he heard a rumor that the family escaped to Spain. Landa then begins asking about the individual members of the Dreyfus family. While Lapadite continues answering his questions, the camera slowly moves downward, revealing 5 people lying underneath the floor, holding their breath and hiding in complete silence. They are the Dreyfus family, whom Lapadite has been secretly hiding for the past year. Landa then begins talking about the fact that people call him the Jew Hunter. He says he likes the name because he has earned it. He compares Jews to rats and Germans to hawks. A hawk searching for a rat will look in places where a rat is likely to hide. In the same way, other German soldiers search in places where a German would be expected to hide. But Landa says the reason he is so good at finding Jews is because he can think like a Jew. He then explains why he compares Jews to rats. There isn't much difference between a rat and a squirrel. Both are rodents. Apart from the difference in their tails, they even look somewhat similar. A squirrel can carry the same diseases that a rat can, and it's been a very long time since the bubonic plague existed. Yet if a rat gets into our house, our first reaction is to kill it. Even if that rat has done absolutely nothing to us, we still kill it simply because it is a rat. Landa then openly asks Lapadite whether he is hiding Jews underneath his floorboards. He says that he will have to order his soldiers to search the house. But if Lapadite has anything to say that could make that unnecessary, now is the time to say it. He assures him that there will be no punishment for telling the truth. Instead, as a reward, he promises that the German soldiers will never bother his family again. Finally, Lapadite admits that he has been hiding the Dreyfus family. Landa asks him to point out the exact place where they are hiding. Since the Dreyfus family hiding underneath the floor cannot understand English, they have no idea what is happening above them. Landa tells Lapadite to continue acting as if nothing is wrong, and then switches the conversation back to French. After thanking Lapadite for his hospitality, Landa addresses the soldiers waiting outside as if they were members of Lapadite's family and calls them inside. The German soldiers open fire with their machine guns, shooting through the entire floor. Only one member of the family survives, their 16-year-old daughter, Shosanna. Covered in the blood of her family, Shosanna runs out of the house. Landa pulls out his pistol and aims at her, but the distance is too great, so he doesn't fire. As she runs farther away, Landa watches her and tells her in French, "Until we see each other again."
Au revoir, Shosanna!
In Italy, an American lieutenant named Aldo Raine is forming a secret unit made up of 8 Jewish American soldiers. Their mission is simple: hunt down and kill as many Nazi soldiers as possible, showing absolutely no mercy. Aldo tells his men that the terror they create should be so brutal that the Germans will come to recognize them by it. He also gives every soldier serving under him one order: bring back the scalps of 100 Nazi soldiers. A few months later, we see Adolf Hitler sitting at his headquarters in Bavaria. He is furious after hearing reports about the Jewish soldiers who have been killing his men. Aldo's group is now known as the Inglourious Basterds. Around this time, a German officer who was released by the Bastard arrives at Hitler's headquarters. Hitler demands that he explain exactly what happened. In a forest in France, Aldo's men have attacked and captured a German patrol. We see them cutting the scalps off the soldiers they have killed. Only 3 German soldiers have been left alive. Aldo is questioning a captured German sergeant named Werner. He demands information about another German camp nearby, but Werner refuses to reveal anything. Aldo then asks if Werner has ever heard the name Hugo Stiglitz. Werner immediately replies that every German soldier knows that name. Stiglitz was once a German soldier himself, but after killing several officers from the Gestapo, the secret police force of Nazi Germany, he was captured by the Nazis. Later, Aldo's men attacked the prison, freed Stiglitz, and recruited him into their own unit. Even after seeing Stiglitz standing there, Werner still refuses to give them any information. Realizing there is no reason to keep him alive, Aldo decides to send a message to the others. For that, he calls on Sergeant Donny Donowitz, better known as the Bear Jew. Donny is notorious for beating Nazi soldiers to death with a baseball bat. Without wasting any time, Donny begins beating Werner with the bat. Terrified by what he is seeing, another German soldier tries to run away, but he is shot and killed. Now the only German still alive is Private Butz. Butz gives Aldo all the information he wants without putting up any resistance. They decide to let him go. But before releasing him, Aldo asks what he plans to do once he gets back home. Butz says that he will take off his Nazi uniform and resign from the army. Aldo tells him that he cannot accept that. He takes out his knife and carves a swastika into Butz's forehead. Donny comments that Aldo's carving is getting much better. The mark is meant to make sure that even after the war is over, Butz will never be able to hide what he did as a Nazi. 3 years pass. Shosanna is now the owner and projectionist of a cinema in Paris. She has hidden her true identity and is living under the name Emmanuelle Mimieux. One night, while changing the name of the movie displayed outside her theater, a German soldier named Frederick Zoller approaches her. He offers to help and tries to start a conversation. But Shosanna has absolutely no interest in becoming friendly with a German soldier. As Frederick keeps asking her questions because he wants to get to know her better, Shosanna becomes irritated. She asks him directly if he is trying to find out whether she is Jewish, and shows him her identification papers. Before he can continue the conversation, she tells him that she has finished her work and walks back inside. Later, the two meet again at a restaurant. Frederick once again tries to be friendly with her, but she openly tells him to leave her alone. That's when 2 other German soldiers arrive and treat Frederick with great respect. Shosanna realizes that he isn't an ordinary soldier. Frederick then reveals that he is the young German soldier who has killed more enemy soldiers than anyone else during the war. He explains that he was once trapped alone on top of a bell tower, where he faced around 300 enemy soldiers with only 1,000 rounds of ammunition. On the first day, he killed 68 men. On the second day, he killed another 150. On the third day, he killed 32 more. By the fourth day, the remaining soldiers were forced to retreat. Frederick says that a movie called Nation's Pride has been made about this event, and that he himself played the character based on him. He expects Shosanna to be impressed by the story. Instead, she gets up and walks away in disgust. A few days later, a German official arrives at Shosanna's theater and orders her to come with him. She becomes frightened, but instead of taking her somewhere dangerous, he brings her to a luxurious restaurant. Waiting for her, there are Frederick and Joseph Goebbels, the German minister of propaganda and one of Hitler's most trusted leaders. Goebbels tells her that Frederick spent the entire lunch insisting that the premiere of Nation's Pride should be held at Shosanna's theater. The premiere was originally supposed to take place at a much larger theater, but Frederick argues that holding it at her smaller theater would make the event more exclusive and that it should be a night reserved exclusively for Germans. Eventually, Goebbels agrees to make the final decision after conducting a test screening. That is when Colonel Hans Landa arrives. 3 years after murdering her family, Shosanna is suddenly face to face with the man responsible. Inside, she is trembling with fear. When Goebbels leaves for another meeting, Landa tells Shosanna that, as the officer responsible for security, he has a few things he needs to discuss with her. He asks how someone so young became the owner of the theater. Shosanna explains that the theater had belonged to her late aunt and uncle. Landa then informs her that if the premiere is held there, she will have to operate the projector herself. Landa continues asking her several questions, including when she first met Frederick. At times, he orders milk and dessert, making the entire conversation appear completely ordinary. But every question puts Shosanna under enormous pressure. Eventually, Landa says there was one more thing he wanted to ask her, but he can't remember what it was. He then says goodbye and leaves. The moment he walks out, Shosanna finally breaks down and begins to cry. That evening, Goebbels arrives at the theater for the test screening, and Goebbels decides that the premiere will be held at Shosanna's theater. After everyone leaves, an idea suddenly comes to Shosanna. She realizes that she may never get another opportunity like this. So many of the most powerful Nazi leaders are going to be gathered together in one place. And because of that, she tells Marcel that they should burn down the theater on the very night of the premiere. They already have 350 reels of nitrate film stored there, which will be more than enough. The 35mm nitrate film used at the time burns roughly 3 times faster than paper, meaning they won't need any additional explosives. Marcel agrees to the plan. Shosanna also begins secretly filming another film of her own, one specifically intended for the Nazis. In England, British Army officer Lieutenant Archie Hickox, who has extensive knowledge of German films, is briefed by Prime Minister Winston Churchill about a secret mission called Operation Kino. The plan is to assassinate 3 prominent Nazi leaders, Goebbels, Bormann, and Göring, by destroying the theater while the premiere of Nation's Pride is taking place. Hickox will be secretly sent to France, where he will carry out the operation with the help of Aldo and his men. The group is being led by German actress Brigitte von Hammersmark. Although she is publicly known as a supporter of the Nazis, she has secretly been working for the British for the past 2 years. In fact, she was the one who originally planned Operation Kino. Hickox was chosen for the mission because of his knowledge of German cinema. In the French village of Nadine, Hickox meets Aldo and his men. They arrange to meet Brigitte at a basement bar called La Louisiana. Aldo isn't happy about the choice of location because if anything goes wrong, escaping from a basement would be extremely difficult. He is also suspicious that the German actress might be setting them up. Hickox explains that Brigitte chose the location because German soldiers normally don't come there. But when they arrive, they find exactly the opposite, a group of drunken Nazi soldiers sitting inside the bar. They are celebrating the birth of Sergeant Wilhelm's baby, and Brigitte is sitting with them, playing a card game. Hickox, Wiki, and Stiglitz have arrived wearing German officer uniforms. After saying goodbye to the soldiers, Brigitte joins them. Hickox immediately says they need to leave because there are Nazis everywhere. But Brigitte has been waiting there for hours, and she says that if she suddenly gets up and leaves without even having a drink, it will look suspicious. So they decide to stay and have at least one drink. Brigitte tells them that there are 2 new developments concerning Operation Kino. First, the premiere has now been moved to a smaller theater. That means the bombs they brought for the original theater will have an even greater impact in this smaller location. Before she can explain the second development, the drunken Sergeant Wilhelm approaches their table. He asks Brigitte for her autograph as a gift for his newborn son. Brigitte happily signs it for him, but Wilhelm doesn't leave. He keeps interrupting their conversation until Hickox angrily tells him that this is a table for officers. Wilhelm then notices that there is something unusual about Hickox's German accent. Before the situation can get any worse, Stiglitz intervenes and angrily tells the other soldiers to take their drunken friend away. But the problem isn't over.
Ich mich vielleicht erkundigen.
A Gestapo major named Dieter Hellstrom has been sitting behind them, listening to everything. Hellstrom approaches their table and says that he also noticed something strange about Hickox's accent. This time, they aren't dealing with an ordinary sergeant. Hellstrom is a high-ranking officer, so they can't simply send him away. Hickox explains that he comes from a village beneath the Piz Palu Mountains in Germany, and that everyone from his region speaks the same way. When Hellstrom asks why they are in France, Brigitte explains that these men are her guests, whom she invited to the premiere of Nation's Pride. With his suspicions mostly gone, Hellstrom invites himself to their table for a game of cards. Stiglitz has to control himself from simply pulling out his gun and killing the Gestapo officer sitting right in front of him. After one round of the game, Hickok says that they have some private matters to discuss among themselves and tries to say goodbye to the Major. But before they leave, Hellstrom offers to buy them a 33-year-old scotch. Hickok asks for 3 glasses.
3 Gläser.
But the hand gesture he uses to indicate the number 3 is not the way Germans normally do it. Hellstrom notices the mistake. He immediately points his pistol at Hickok. But underneath the table, Hickok has already drawn his own gun and is pointing it directly at Hellstrom. Stiglitz also pulls out his weapon. Hickok suggests that they put their guns away, walk outside, and settle the matter without anyone getting killed. Hellstrom tells him that nobody is leaving the room alive. Realizing that death is unavoidable, Hickok says that wasting a scotch this old would be a crime. He finishes the drink. Then, as he puts the glass down, he gives Stiglitz the signal.
Stiglitz, see auf Wiedersehen to your Nazi boss.
The next moment, the entire basement erupts in gunfire. When the brutal shootout finally ends, only 2 people are still alive. Bridget, who has been shot in the leg, and Sergeant Wilhelm. Hearing all the gunfire from upstairs, Aldo comes down and begins negotiating with Wilhelm. Wilhelm begs him not to kill him because he wants to see his newborn baby. Aldo tells him to put his gun down. There is only one way for Wilhelm to leave the place alive. He must allow them to take Bridget with them. Wilhelm agrees and lowers his gun. But the moment he does, Bridget picks up a pistol lying on the floor and shoots him dead. Aldo's men take the injured Bridget to the clinic of a veterinarian. But before the treatment can even begin, Aldo presses his finger directly into her wound. He begins questioning her about what happened inside the basement. Crying from the pain, Bridget explains that when Hickok asked for 3 glasses, he used the wrong German hand gesture. When Germans indicate the number 3, they normally use their thumb, index finger, and middle finger. But Hickok raised his middle 3 fingers instead. The Major had already been suspicious of them, and that single mistake was enough for him to realize their true identities. Aldo asks what their next move is. Bridget tells him that the premiere has now been moved to the smaller theater and that Adolf Hitler himself is going to attend the event. But with her injured leg, she can't even walk down the red carpet. And on top of that, Aldo and his men have German accents that are probably even worse than Hickok's. But Aldo isn't willing to waste an opportunity to kill Hitler. He tells her that they can put a cast on her leg, give her as much morphine as she needs to keep the pain away, and get her walking. She only has to make it to the event. After that, they will take care of everything. Bridget then asks if these Americans know any language besides English. Aldo says that he can speak a little Italian. That gives Bridget a new idea. Since Germans generally aren't very familiar with Italian, any mistakes in their accents won't be as easy to notice. Meanwhile, Hans Landa arrives to investigate the massacre at the basement. He identifies 2 of the dead men as Stiglitz and Wiki, members of Aldo's unit. Landa had previously interrogated every soldier the bastard had released, so he already had a general idea of what these men looked like. During the investigation, he discovers an expensive shoe. Then he finds the autograph Bridget had given Sergeant Wilhelm as a gift for his baby. Landa immediately realizes that the only person who could have escaped the massacre was the famous actress Bridget von Hammersmark. On the night of the premiere, Shosanna gets dressed and hides a small pistol inside her handbag. She then goes to the projection room and goes over their plan one last time with Marcel. They will show the special film they have prepared during the 4th reel. When the 3rd reel is coming to an end, Marcel must lock every door in the theater and wait behind the screen. The entire lobby is now filled with Nazi officials. From the staircase above, Landa is watching everything. When he spots Bridget and her group, he walks downstairs and first asks Bridget what happened to her leg. She tells him that she injured it while climbing a mountain. Landa immediately bursts out laughing. He points out that her cast is brand new and asks if she went mountain climbing yesterday. He is clearly trying to trap her. Landa then asks about the people accompanying her. Bridget introduces them as friends of hers from the Italian film industry. But to everyone's surprise, Landa suddenly begins speaking fluent Italian. At this point, we need to remember that, just as he had recognized Stiglitz and Wiki earlier, Landa already knows that the people standing in front of him are Aldo and his men. He repeatedly makes each of them say their names, putting them under even more pressure. After checking Donnie and Omar's tickets, he allows them to enter the theater. The 2 men take their positions inside with explosives strapped to their legs. Landa then tells Bridget that he needs to speak with her privately and takes her into another room. After locking the door, he asks to see her injured leg. He then takes off the shoe she is wearing and tells her to take something out of his coat. As Bridget reaches into the coat, she suddenly freezes. It is her own shoe. Landa puts the shoe onto her foot. It fits perfectly. Realizing that her secret has been completely exposed, Bridget asks what he intends to do next. Without warning, Landa lunges at her, grabs her by the throat, and strangles her to death. He then picks up the phone and orders his men to capture Aldo. Aldo is arrested, and the bomb strapped to his leg is discovered. Landa then goes to the VIP box and tells Goebbels that everything is secure and that Hitler will be arriving shortly. After that, he also captures Yudovich, who has been waiting outside as Aldo's driver. The two prisoners are loaded into a military truck and taken to an isolated restaurant. Once they arrive, Landa makes an unexpected revelation. He is willing to surrender. He explains that before the war, he was an extremely skilled detective whose job was to find people. When the war began, that same job simply became finding Jews. He also claims that he doesn't like being called the Jew hunter. But it is obvious that all of this is simply another performance from Landa. Then he reveals one more crucial detail. Donnie and Omar are still inside the theater with their bombs. The bomb that was taken from Aldo is now inside the VIP box as well. Landa says that all he has to do is make one phone call, and he can get everyone safely out before the bombs explode. But if he does nothing, Aldo's plan will succeed. Hitler, Goebbels, Bormann, and Göring will all be killed on the same night. With 4 of the main pillars of the Nazi regime destroyed, the war itself could come to an end. In exchange for making that happen, Landa demands that Aldo contact his superiors in the American Secret Service and arrange for him to surrender safely, with a guarantee that he will not be punished after the war. Inside the theater, the screening begins. Donnie confirms that Hitler has arrived. Back in the projection room, Marcel says his final goodbye to Shosanna, locks every door in the theater, and takes his position behind the screen, where the piles of nitrate film are waiting. As Landa requested, Aldo contacts the American Secret Service by radio. Landa then begins listing his demands one by one. He wants the official military history to record that he had been working as a double agent for the Americans from the moment Operation Kino began. Every action he carried out as an SS colonel must be recorded as having been done under American orders. He says that he was forced to carry out brutal acts only to prevent the Germans from becoming suspicious. He also demands that it be officially stated that the deaths of Hitler and Goebbels were caused by the bomb he personally placed inside the VIP box. But Landa's demands don't end there. He wants a lifetime pension appropriate to his rank, the Medal of Honor, and American citizenship. He also wants a house on an island called Nantucket. The American general on the radio agrees to all of his demands. He tells Aldo that he will cross the border with Landa as his prisoner, and once they reach territory under American control, Landa and his radio operator will officially surrender. Inside the theater, Frederick gets up from his seat and heads toward the projection room to see Shosanna. By then, she has already loaded the 4th reel. Frederick tells her that he doesn't like watching the scenes in which he kills people in the movie, and once again tries to get closer to her. Shosanna ignores him, saying that she is busy. Frederick then forces the door open and enters. He tells her that the nearly 300 soldiers he killed will testify that he isn't someone she can simply ignore. Realizing that she can't get rid of him, Shosanna suddenly changes her approach. She tells him that they don't have much time and asks him to lock the door quickly. Unexpectedly pleased by this sudden change in attitude, Frederick turns around to lock it. Shosanna pulls out her pistol and shoots him. Since gunfire is also being heard in the movie at that moment, nobody outside hears the shot. Thinking that Frederick is dead, Shosanna walks toward him, but he suddenly fires back at her. At the same time, Donnie and Omar take down the guard standing outside the VIP box. Inside, Hitler is happily watching the movie when Shosanna's special footage begins playing on the screen. Her face fills the screen in close-up. She tells the Nazis that everyone sitting in that theater is going to die, and that the face they are looking at is the face of the Jew who is going to destroy them. Through the recording, she gives Marcel the signal to set the theater on fire. Marcel throws his cigarette into the pile of nitrate film. The screen immediately catches fire, and the flames begin spreading throughout the theater. The terrified Nazis try to escape, but every door is locked. Donnie and Omar burst into the VIP box and open fire with their machine guns, killing Hitler and Goebbels. They then continue firing at the Nazis below. To make absolutely sure Hitler is dead, Donnie unloads another burst of bullets into his body. At that exact moment, the explosives strapped to their legs and the bomb Landa had placed inside the VIP box explode together. The massive explosion destroys the entire theater. In a forest under American military control, Landa and Aldo are riding in a military truck. Landa officially surrenders and hands over all his weapons. Just when he thinks everything has gone according to plan, Aldo shoots Landa's radio operator. He then tells Udovich to cut off the man's scalp. Aldo explains that America only needs Landa alive, and if he faces any disciplinary action for killing the radio operator, he will take responsibility for it himself. Then Aldo asks Landa one final question. Once he reaches his new home on Nantucket Island, is he planning to take off his SS uniform and erase every trace of the fact that he was once a Nazi? The moment he hears the question, Landa knows exactly what is coming. Aldo tells him that he cannot allow that. He takes out his knife and carves a huge swastika into Landa's forehead. As Landa lies on the ground crying in pain, Aldo tells Udovich that this might be his finest work yet. And that is where the movie ends, until I return with another story.